Welcome everyone to finally episode number 4 of the Caster's Desk. My name is Sebastian Lemke, aka Lampy YGO, and I'm joined by the beautiful, amazing Leonard Koning Leonard he is. Leo, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling absolutely amazing. It's been a long time since we've recorded
Oh yeah.
the last episode. There was plenty of stuff happening in both of our lives, in terms of jobs and private life. So a busy month, but we're finally at it again.
Absolutely. So, to already make you aware at home what we're going to go through today. So we are going to talk about quite a bit of Yu-Gi-Oh for sure, because there was also a lot of stuff going on in Yu-Gi-Oh. We have a new format, new Forbidden Unlimited list. Also, we had recent big events where some of us attended as a player and some of us attended as casters. So we can talk about that for sure. That will be a fun story to talk about.
Mhm.
And yeah, so there's definitely a bunch of stuff covered. But as Leo said, we're also going to talk about a lot of other stuff in terms of real life stuff. And the last episode actually was recorded before Christmas. Like it was that long
Wait.
ago. So Merry Christmas, my friend.
Yeah. Happy
Uh,
holidays, right?
Happy holidays. Hope you got good into the new year. What was it for you like? Christmas? Had a good time?
I had a fantastic time. I mean, we just got the kittens recently before Christmas, so
Ooh,
I
yeah,
decided
early
to,
Christmas present, right?
yeah, the best one as well, to spend most of the Christmas time at home. I was at my grandparents on the 24th.
Hmm.
Then I went back home to visit the kittens, so they're not alone all the time. And
Yeah,
then actually, my mother came on the 25th to visit me.
nice.
And yeah, on the 26th, I just spent time with my partner. And that was the best day of Christmas. There was no stress whatsoever. We just had nice leftovers food. Then we were cooking a bit together. It was just very chill and absolutely phenomenal. How about yours?
Sounds great, but before I get to mine, maybe give us a little bit more context about the kittens, because that quite honestly probably was like the most important thing happening in your life for the last 2 months, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah, my partner always wanted to have cats.
yeah.
And I'm more of a dog person actually. But I said, hey, okay, she's a bit afraid of dogs, so that won't be happening really. And yeah, I just agreed to the kittens, and I love them very much. We had this deal that I can name kittens if we get some,
Cool. What
or if
are the
we get
names?
any. Ruby and Bernie, they are named after crystal bees. So
There you go.
yeah,
Nerds be nerds.
Crystal Beast Ruby Carbuncle was the first card that I ever won in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. So naturally, that one had to be one. So we have Ruby, and then I thought, hey, we got two kittens, so let's take another Crystal Beast. And which one makes the most sense there? Yes, it
Of
is,
course.
of course, Amber Mammoth. So we got like Crystal Beast, Amber Mammoth, but the German name and the short version of it. So it's Bernie.
Yeah, I like it. And I mean, I like the fact, I love the fact that you got two kittens at once. Like I
Yeah,
think that for them it's just so much nicer to always have someone around even when you guys are not at home.
yeah.
So having two kittens is actually like really cool. And yeah, that means you are now basically the father of two, you could say, right?
Yeah, this is always the thing where I have to pay attention to not be too cringe about it. So I mean, Julia and I were calling each other cat parents. Of course,
Of
that's what
course.
you do. I think if you have pets, but if you're talking to actual parents, it's really important not to be like, "Hey, I know that from my kittens." Uh, so that's a tough one right now. But yeah, they are unbelievably cute. They might jump up onto this little thing there or onto my lap.
Oh, yeah,
They're
true.
very cuddly, very playful as well. Sometimes they are a bit annoying
Nah,
over there. I
never,
think
never.
one of them is on the table right now, which they are
Oh.
not allowed to, but can't leave this right now, so I'll have to deal with that later.
Fair, fair.
And yeah, they're little rascals, but I love them so much.
Yeah, sounds absolutely phenomenal. Great Christmas gift. My
Yeah.
Christmas days were kind of quiet as well. Like we met up at my aunt's place, who's also living in Berlin the 24th, where my brother and my father also were joining, and so we were a great group, not like too many people, so it was a chill environment, and they are pretty chill in general. So I like it chill in my life in general. I had it chill on Christmas Eve as well, so that was nice. And then I have the funny stories ever though. The funny story ever though for New Year's Eve, because we were at a party. Also, nothing like super
All
crazy.
right.
Yeah. Nothing super crazy. But I didn't know like the host too much, and so I didn't know what was about to happen because at some point during the evening, I think it might have even been after midnight, honestly. So it was quite some time already passed. And then he just sits next to me and he's like, so, because they're mostly friends with my girlfriend, so that's the connection point. So they're like, yo, your girlfriend told me that you are into Yu-Gi-Oh, aren't you? And I'm like, I guess you could say so. I guess that might even be quite an understatement because basically I'm like spending Yu-Gi-Oh time every day of my life, and Yu-Gi-Oh kind of is my life, and I really enjoy it a lot, and I even am a caster for it. And then I got the question back to him. Yeah. So, but why are you asking? Are you interested? Are you into Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, or whatsoever? And without hesitation, he turned around, opened opened the shelf behind him, and there was an army of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Like he had so many Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and he was so proudly presenting them to me. And I didn't expect it by any means, by any chance. And it was so funny and so heartwarming to me that moment because obviously I love to see that. And then we had a really fun conversation because he actually has 50 decks, all of them put together. Like, it's not like he has the potential for 50 decks. He has 50 decks on the spot. You could put 25 duels next to each other with 50 decks.
So that's like 150 Ash Blossoms.
No, that's the thing. He's like pretty casual. So he like doesn't include like very many staples and stuff. And rather goes with the archetype cards. And I think it's like from my perspective, like because I'm and you are as well such a competitive minded guy, it's always fun to talk to casual people because it's such a different perspective to the game. And like he's not even planning on going to a tournament or whatever, but he's having a good time whenever he gets to play with someone and whenever he gets to bring those cards out. And he just has a great time putting those decks together. Like that process already is so much fun to him. And I mean, he got to the number of 50 already. So obviously it's quite entertaining to him. And then also, it was so well organized. I can only dream of that. Like
Yeah.
every card was sleeved. And then it was one big box where all the 50 decks were in there. And he had labeled he labeled every single one of the decks. So you opened the box and you saw all the labels, so you could immediately tell which deck is where. It was crazy.
But Basti, did you guys have a match? Did you play, or did you feel
Nah.
like it wasn't the vibe of the party?
Yeah, it wasn't really. It wasn't really. Like others were dancing and stuff, so it would have been a bit weird when we would have at that moment. I mean, it would have probably not been that weird because I've played Yu-Gi-Oh in weirder places, but in that particular moment, it just didn't feel like the right thing to do.
I think that's an interesting topic. What are the weirdest places where you have played Yu-Gi-Oh, or what are weird places you have played regularly? Because with my old
Regularly.
testing circle with Team Trent, we
Yeah.
always used to go to Subway for sandwiches and then play in that Subway until they kicked us out at like 1 a.m.
So they basically knew you guys already as
Yeah,
the
yeah,
card players.
of course. And then all of the other guests were coming looking, and some people, of course, were like, "Hey, yo, that's do you play Dark Magician?" And we're like,
No.
"Please leave us alone." Well, if you want to be left alone, don't go play Yu-Gi-Oh at a Subway.
That's a very fair point. And for me, I think regularly is a tough one because I've always grew up in places where we had good locals, and usually those
Yeah.
locals also had like open all day long. So like in my childhood days, I was close to Rostock, which had great locals, and now in Berlin, I'm obviously covered on that end as well. But the first Yu-Gi-Oh tournament I attended was like down in a basement. Like you had to go down, no daylight at all. And it was the worst nightmare for my mother who brought me in there, because she was like, there's only people 20 years plus. I'm bringing my 13-year-old son. Is
Yeah.
that really the best thing to do here? There's no oxygen, no light, no whatsoever in here. This does not seem like the right environment for him. Maybe it wasn't, maybe it was. I think I turned out quite great, at least in my connection to Yu-Gi-Oh!
That is true. Actually, I think you probably turned out the way your mother feared, like in that moment.
Fair, fair, fair. Talking about the Shadow Realm, exactly, exactly. And yeah, I mean, it obviously still was great fun, but it was kind of frightening for sure at the first. I'm not for me, not for me. I was like, oh, there's Yu-Gi-Oh cards everywhere, but for my mother, it was a little different.
What deck are you guys playing? Completely shocked when anyone else is playing the same deck as you because that's your thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
No,
that was fun.
recently also, I went to before New Year's. I
Mhm.
went to 2 Pokemon Go tournaments in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
and one of those tournaments was in. I went to 3 actually.
Ooh,
Was in Arnhem, Gamers Paradise, and that is a beautiful TCG store. It
nice.
is the coolest store I've ever been to in terms of design. I talked to the, I think it was the owner, who said, yeah, that was their goal. They have been to multiple TCG shops before and said, hey, this is like it's cool stuff in there, but it's not really like fashionable.
That's
And
great. So I'm looking forward to that even more, because I will be at Dutch Open, and that is in that place.
that might be in a different venue though, because
Ah,
that was
potentially.
the store was not as big. But they also
Fair.
let us down into the basement to play our Pokemon Go tournament, which was quite fun. Actually, I was sitting next to those 2 banners, which was also hilarious. But yeah, playing a tournament in a cold basement again was kind of an experience. Also, it's a lot of fun to play Pokemon Go tournaments. Like, it's quiet. In Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, there's just noise everywhere. You have to communicate
True,
with your
true.
opponent. And the owner of the shop said it was quite spooky to watch us play because he came downstairs and nobody was talking. There wasn't a single noise except for the tapping on the phones.
Yeah, that's a weird one for sure. If you know TCGs, if you're used to
Yeah,
TCGs.
nobody was talking. It's hilarious. And even if you're finished with the match and talk to your opponent, you're trying to whisper so nobody loses focus. It's quite funny. When
Ge-
Yu-Gi-Oh tournaments, you mostly yell at your opponent
True.
or your friends.
Generic question regarding Yu-Gi-Oh, also relating to that. If you are playing very serious in a competitive tournament,
Mhm.
so you're trying to top. I know, like, we haven't been playing YCSs lately because we used to cast them, but let's say a YCS.
Yeah.
How talkative are you to your opponent? How much are you talking during the match?
During the match, only if I know that I'm going to lose, I'm starting to joke around a little bit. If I
Fair.
see that there is still a 1% chance of me turning this around, I don't. Before the match, I have a little chat. I might ask my opponent, "Hey, where are you from?"
Yeah.
But not that much, honestly. I'm very low energy. Then you?
Mm, I would say the opposite. I'm all like, at least opposite regarding the low energy part. Like, I am very high energy, but focused on the actual game, and therefore also almost no talking at all. Like, I think it's just so much easier to lose focus when you are talking actively to your opponent, and you
Mm,
might just forget like very, very small nuances of the game,
yeah.
and those are nowadays so important. So I think whenever I see people actually being very successful and talking a lot while they are playing, it's mind-boggling to me, because I would just have the constant risk of not being able to perform as well as I would like to.
There's one crazy thing that I have found out that also works for me. We have been talking about that earlier. That many of the successful North American Yu-Gi-Oh players, they wear hoodies
Yeah,
and they just put their hats on during the game, and we never knew why. And I did that during tournaments as well, and it really helps with your focus if you have like a narrowed down sight.
yeah.
And if you have an ADHD brain like me, not looking at anything else except for the field is really, really helpful. So I'm starting to do that too. So always wear a hoodie to tournaments now.
Actually sounds good. Yeah, I do understand that as well. because it's very easy, like when you're sitting in a hall with 3,000 others, to be distracted. As we were just saying, it's basically noise everywhere. Like it's obviously a game running right next to you, it's game running right left to you, so like there's games everywhere. And yeah, like you might just drive,
Yeah.
you might just swiftly drive away in terms of focus. Like your opponent is comboing off, and you're like, I don't really need to focus, but maybe you do need to
Yeah.
focus because you need to know that one card they searched in the combo, and you need to know which one it is. So always stay focused when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but okay, so we were for our personal lives already kind of talking about the transition of the last year into the new year now. And I think Yu-Gi-Oh also had quite a drastic transition from the last year into the new year because they announced the Forbidden Limited list somewhat. Was it before Christmas or was it just after Christmas? Around that time, right?
It was around that time. I think maybe a little bit after.
Yeah, I think so too. But definitely around that time. And like the main important thing, of course, there is that it got into effect from the 1st January onwards. So new year, new format, new cards. And I think in
It sounds like
general,
after Christmas thing.
yeah, true. Yeah, I agree. Um, in general, I think that those, like the list this time, contrarian to a lot of the other ones we had in the latest past, was very, very well received overall. Like
Yeah.
people really, really liked the list. I liked the list as well, for sure, because the main thing is that it did a lot. Like
Yeah.
in the latest past, they were always kind of careful, not doing too much. But this time, boom, 24 changes. Or 25 even. 25, I think it was.
And there were so many great nuances to it. I've seen takes of players saying, "Hey, this one specifically from Gabriel Nets, Labyrinth could have used a little slap on the wrist."
Mm-hmm.
Labyrinth is really strong, but you also told me that immediately this is never really the deck that wants to be the
Yeah.
deck to beat. Because if you focus on beating Labyrinth, you will beat Labyrinth with your deck. Ash Blossom and Ghost Spell are crazy strong cards. Even
Yeah.
DD Crows help. I got evenly Ashed and Belt at the German Open in one turn. So yeah, that it can be really tough for a Labyrinth player
For sure.
if you decide against it.
I think Ghost Spell is like the card that has picked up majorly
Yeah.
in popularity just immediately in the new format. Like everyone and their mother right now is either main or side deck in Ghost Spell, which is of course like super super tough for the Labyrinth deck, because in case you guys don't know at home, like big welcome Labyrinth could potentially summon from the graveyard, and therefore you could just throw Ghost Spell onto it and it will not resolve. So that's quite hard.
And it's not only good against Lab, of course. It's kind of also good against the new deck to beat, I want to say.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
It is not tier limits. Against tier limits, it's sometimes crazy if you can throw it onto a name.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely insane. But most of the time, it's getting chain blocked anyways. Let's be realistic there. Maybe a Merly from Sprint. I'm getting carried away. But against Fire Kings is also really good. And Fire Kings is... It's a crazy deck.
Yeah.
So it is the year of the fire. Everyone knows that already. The Diabell Star engine is absolutely insane. But Fire King is also now more popular than Rescue Ace. Rescue Ace got a little slap on the wrist with the Forbidden Unlimited list. Maybe a little bit of consistency issues. Not really. The deck is still pretty consistent, but resource-wise, the Airlifter to 1.
Yeah, exactly.
Is a little bit tough, but the deck still works perfectly fine. But Fire King has just taken off now. I feel like at YCS Bologna, there were like about 4 people who played the deck. 2 of them top cutted.
No, actually 4 of them top cutted. But like right. Every single one of them top cutted. Yeah, it was 4 and then
Basically,
4.
Yeah. Basically, and everyone was kind of laughing at the deck. I heard players say, "Hey, this deck doesn't really do anything." And after the Forbidden and Limited list, no deck really does anything. So Fire King still has the best grind game. People came up with crazy combos in there. We've seen Henry Dopider at German Open with the Tri-Brigade cards, which is really powerful. Even though it does not seem super broken, the end field of it. It's Appaloosa and what's it called? The Tri-Brigade.
Revolt, yeah.
Revolt, exactly, which is basically the field that old Tri-Brigade decks put out.
Yeah.
It's very confusing to me. I mean, I've played against the deck. I know how strong it is. I just can't grasp why it is so powerful right now.
I mean, you also have full access to the Fire King engine with that field setup, so that's like additionally to that.
That's true.
But like, still, I was kind of surprised by the success of Henry because I talked to Henry before the event as well, and he was like super convinced by the deck, and I was like, is that really the way to go? But actually, when I saw then in the finals, like that he set up Revolt plus the Fire King quick spell that can destroy cards, and of
Yeah,
course the Appaloosa, I was like, there's not really that many decks that can actually play
yeah,
through this. Like maybe Tier.
yeah.
Sadly enough, he played versus Tier. But besides that, there's really not that many decks that can actually beat that. It's kind of crazy.
Especially if here goes second, draws Impulse, and then discards Trivikama. That's
Yeah. That was
pretty naughty.
a hand of all time there for good old Drizzles. But Drizzles also is a deserved champion of the German Open. Not gonna
Absolutely.
lie.
But by the way, Henry is really a person of those start of and in between formats. Yeah, maybe that wasn't a sentence, but
I think
Henry
people understand. Yeah.
he also was one of the people who invented one of the Orcust variants back in the day when pure Orcust was becoming really strong. But at the beginning of that format, people didn't know it yet. And then Henry won a tournament with it or got second place. And then the deck really started to pick up in popularity. So
Nice.
he's a very, very good deck builder in his formats.
Yeah, I mean,
Others.
honestly, I think when there is a format that has been around for a while, you can, by just pure practice and by putting in the
Yep.
work, get to a very high level because you can just take the resources that are already around and can make the best out of it. But at the beginning of a format, you actually just have to do creative work yourself because you have to figure out what is now going to work, what's not going to work, and how do you go into that kind of a tournament. And there's like no video you can already watch on YouTube by that guy that got third place at the German Open or something. That tournament didn't happen yet. It's the first tournament. You are there and you have to do it right on the spot. And therefore, I do respect those tournament results mostly even a little bit more than the others. Like one more thing that has to be mentioned is like deep into a format. Of course, you can also like then make great decisions in terms of tech cards for a
The
specific
Dinkabui way.
moment. What again?
The Dinkabui way.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can still innovate, it's still possible, but usually the innovation is not that big. Like it's one small thing that is now all of a sudden being done in like one deck. But like at the beginning of a format, you have like a whole new deck, maybe even that is all of a sudden there and it's all of a sudden great.
Yeah.
Also, adding onto that Fire King and Labyrinth discussion we had, Fire King has just an insane Labyrinth matchup. You gotta say that. And
Yeah.
therefore, Labyrinth maybe really did not need the hit. If there is Fire King that can just fight against the Labyrinth deck, then the deck might just absolutely be no problem.
Yeah, that is true. That's why I started to include Magical Deflectors in my main deck because I was playing Labyrinth at the German Open. Didn't help me, but it was a nice idea. And I think Jack Verma played it too in the HDK.
Yeah, he did.
And he won that thing. So must have worked for some people, I want to say.
Okay.
But also want to talk about the HDK real quick about the deck. Tim G with Kashtira. Because you said earlier that, hey, you can't watch a deck profile of a player who got third place at the German Open. But I've seen people who watched the HDK before going to the German Open and picked up the Kashtira cards again.
For real? Who?
Christoph, for example, was all of a sudden, Christoph Kofoed, a
Yeah.
dear friend of mine, was immediately asking in our group chat, hey, does anyone have this number 76, I think, rank 7, that negates effects in the graveyard, or
Yeah.
it attaches cards from the graveyard?
Gradiel, you attach it to yourself.
Yeah, that one. Immediately, without hesitation.
I think Kashtira was quite a good call for the weekend. And like when you look at the numbers are somewhat confusing because I just got done updating the spreadsheet for Europe last weekend, and Fire King was the most represented deck in terms of top cuts. But then after that, it's really interesting because like the old decks were actually just after that. We have Sprite variants and Kashtira variants being both represented 4 times, and that's like the second highest number in terms of cuts, top cuts, because we had like German Open, Italian Open. There was one in Austria, one in Great Britain, and one in Sweden. So it wasn't that many regionals we had, But overall, like that was 7 Fire Kings, 4 Kashtira, 4 Sprite, and those were like the highest numbers. And like Sprite to me is mind-boggling how they're still around. Like it's probably
That's
not pure Sprite. Like it was mostly Runic for Hire Sprite and like mostly it was Runic variants, but
the
still,
starter musty.
yeah. True. It must
Triple
have been
starter.
the 3 starters.
But Sami Bashar was actually playing the good old Sprite Döner Kebab
Oh
at the
my.
German Open.
He
So he was
was?
actually playing pure Sprite. I think he got top 16 maybe? Was he actually?
He might have been. Oh wait, I think top 32. I think he lost another round in the end, if I remember correctly.
Might have also been top 32 because he lost in like the first 2 rounds immediately.
Yeah,
Not the first two, but he was X2 in round 5.
yeah, I
And then
see.
he kept on winning, I think.
Yeah, and then like one more deck that I need to mention, which also performed crazily well this first weekend because it topped 3 regionals in Europe and then also got third place at the HDK with Dinka Bui. Like Branded, like what
Yeah.
on earth? Branded all of a sudden is also top meta again, I guess, because like the important thing here is that they placed like really high. Like Dinka Bui, as I said, was
Mhm.
third place, not even in the spreadsheet because it wasn't an official regional. Then second place at the German Open was Branded too. Like what the hell?
Yeah, Lucas Lancelot also played it against me.
Yeah, yeah,
And the deck has a crazy Labyrinth matchup.
true, true.
It can grind for hours.
Yeah.
That is really important right now. And I think most importantly is that with Mirror Jade, you have one of the few cards in the metagame right now that do not destroy as a removal. So you actually have a more than decent answer to some of the Fire King plays. If you
Mhm.
set up your Mirror Jade early or double Mirror Jade, then you actually have really strong disruption because this is also where Fire King thrives, right? This is also why I like the list of Henry, the
Mhm.
Tri Brigade Fire King, because you have Apollousa as answer and, of course, also the Shurai. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the kittens are being bad girls right now.
The kittens are being kittens.
Yeah.
If you have to take care of them quickly, then go ahead. If there's something very urgent, of course. You gotta
No,
be a father. You gotta be a good father.
yeah, I think they are fine. They're just being little silly heads right now. Okay, she's leaving. Perfect.
I see, I see. Yeah, so with you being a busy father, did you have enough time to prepare for German Open then? Because you were playing that event
Yeah.
while I was casting.
I was really hyped to play Labyrinth
Mhm.
because I like trap decks and I love the mechanics of the deck. It's really funny to activate a trap card and then just add back 3 cards from your graveyard. I think I was kind of prepared. I didn't have the preparation of some other players in the tournament, of course, because right now I can't play 5 hours of Yu-Gi-Oh! Every day.
Fair, fair.
That is a natural advantage that other players just have. No matter how much you want to prepare, there's always going to be someone who's going to be crazy prepared.
Fair, fair.
However, I don't think that my deck was bad. The preparation could have been a lot better.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I like my list, but the deck was targeted quite heavily. To be honest, in my losses, I felt like I didn't have a chance to play at all.
That's rough.
I was playing a Dinkabui variant of the Labyrinth deck, Dinkabui from Bologna,
Yeah, yeah.
and with backjacks and the magic deflectors, because deflector is really good. But in the Fire King matchup, I didn't draw any engine cards really.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
In the Exosister matchup against the German national champion Timo Hempel, I got evened and belled and dashed, so I
You
also couldn't
you
play.
lost to Exosister?
Yeah. I didn't even know what he was playing, so I was
Oh
activating
my.
an effect in my graveyard after he just set 2 and passed, and then he chained the trap that special summons out 2, and then I had a problem.
Vadis, yeah. Yep, yep.
Yeah, the
That's a
Vadis
problem.
came in clutch there. Yeah, and then he outvalued me in that one, and next game was evenly Ashbell, so that hurt. And then, yeah, Lucas Lancelot with the branded matchup was also pretty tough. However, that game was funny because the game I won, I dimensional barriered him 5 times. However, after he went with a lightning storm, destroyed all my back row, I chained barrier, and then he chained super polymerization, so I had nothing as well.
Ooh.
So that was a long, long grindy fight there. But yeah, I felt kind of chanceless in the games that I lost.
Hmm,
Gotta be
hmm.
honest there.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, but I mean, I think it is for a reason that no Labyrinth made top 8 at the German Open. I think,
Yeah.
yes, the deck is still at the same power level because it didn't get addressed by the list at all, but it did get addressed heavily by all the players in terms of side decking because,
Yes.
like, also another card that is now somewhat of a staple. You will love it. Do you already know which card I'm talking about, which is now kind of a side deck staple?
Cosmic Cyclone.
Cosmic Cyclone, yes. You have been telling me about this card and telling the world about this card for the last, I don't know, 10 years, it feels like. And Cosmic Cyclone right now really seems to be somewhat of a staple because it's basically good versus whatever deck there is. Like, it has
Yeah.
applications versus every other deck. It's really good against Labyrinth, of course. It's really good against. I would say
Tempo.
against Labyrinth, it's not even that great compared to other
Yeah.
cards. But like against Centurion, for example, it's really good, making them not able to special summon out of the spell and trap zone then. And
In Centurion, it's insane, actually.
yeah, it's really, really, really good. And then also against other decks like Kashtira, just getting rid of the
Yeah.
Kashtira birth and stuff. It's like definitely worth playing right now.
Yeah. The field spell. The Kashtira deck is still rather not the most consistent deck, so
Yeah,
sometimes just taking away the first thing is really strong.
for
Yeah.
sure.
Hitting birth, I think, is maybe a bit
Yeah.
better.
Also, Viking Island is just
Of course.
completely game winning if you get to have that card out of the game, of course.
You might need to actually chain it immediately to the Sanctuary. That plays a little more into Fire King Island hard draw.
Yeah,
But if you get rid of the Sanctuary, then they can't send it away for the Snake Eye Ash.
true. And they also cannot exceed summon on your turn. I mean, if they get to
Yeah.
that part and so on. Yeah, for sure, for sure. And I mean, if they activate the Sanctuary, I mean, they probably always activate the Sanctuary, even if they have the hard draw on Fire King
Yeah.
Island. But I think you got to take the gamble. I agree, most likely. But yeah, it's crazy how YCS Bologna is like not very long ago. Like it feels very, very recent, but still we are in a completely different format. Like Fire King is now the deck to beat, and
Yeah.
there's also other decks just really, really fighting in there. Centurion has shown like decently well success as well over the last couple of weeks, and it did not top that much in terms of European regionals that weekend, but I still think the deck is pretty good overall. And I think you can
Yeah.
kind of compare the deck to Kashtira because like they kind of go the same way except shifter, but like they play a bunch of hand interactions. They are like really versatile. They can basically prepare for the format, and therefore I think they are really good. And now one thing that since Bologna also has changed drastically, because in Bologna it was starting a little bit. We saw some decks topping with the Horus engine, but I feel like the Horus engine now is, except for Fire King, of course, is like everywhere. Everyone is running the Horus cards, and I do understand why as well. Like those cards are crazy.
Yes, I remember in I don't know which tournament it was. I think it was Dortmund. People came up to me and asked, "Hey, do you think the Horus engine is going to power creep the entire game? Are we going to have like Horus tier 0?" And I went like, I'm not too sure about that. Haven't read the cards back then at all. But they're absolutely insane. Msetti is just crazy, and you just special summon out 2 level 8 monsters for free.
Yep.
That sounds kind of insane, especially if you are playing the game from the start like we are.
Yeah.
It took a while until it got to this point.
For sure, for sure. Mseti is
Every
definitely a
turn, by the
powerhouse.
way.
Yeah. So I was really like for the last couple of weeks, I was always thinking before I got to see the results now of the new format, like what is the deck that the Horus engine really is the best in? And honestly, I can still not answer you that question. I
Yeah.
think at some point we might get a deck that just harmonizes so well with the Horus engine that it is going to be like tier 0-esque. But that might still take a while because for now, I think it's pretty safe to assume that we are going to sit in fire for a while.
I think now with the many fire decks being so popular, I like it even more
Ooh, okay. Why is that?
because the fire decks don't really, or the ones that we have right now, they're not crazy profiting of a zombie vampire of your opponent.
True,
If you're
true.
playing against Tearlaments, you are risking everything if you're going that route. If you're playing against Labyrinth, which is still prominent, it can also backfire.
Yeah.
But against those fire decks, you might just take away some resources of them. So they have more Kirin targets, maybe. But I think you're going to be fine. I think that the card is much, much better against those fire decks.
Yeah, fair enough. Definitely. And also, quickly, we don't have to talk about it that much, but you also tuned in into the HDK live stream on Saturday, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we have seen Icentrix commentate.
Yeah, Icentrix commentator to be. Maybe we have to have him as a guest on the caster's desk at some point now at this point, that he's joining the caster circle, basically. That would be fun.
I mean, we can also include other casters. I think that's something we will have to discuss backstage.
Yeah.
Whether we want to include guests at some point. I think that most of the other casters we have worked with have interesting stuff to say as well.
For sure, of course, absolutely. Oh, then I have to do no overlay. Oh, no, it's fine. It's fine, of course. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Icentrix did a great job with his casting debut over there. That was really, really, really fun. But just overall, I was incredibly amazed by how hyped the community was for the new format. Because, like, numbers in terms of viewers were absolutely mad. Like, of course, it was a 282 player event, which is like decently sized. Like, it is a decently sized event. Also, I think it was like for viewing, it was kind of nice that it was a one-day event, because you could just stay until the end and you would know the same day who's going to be the winner. Let me tell you, in terms of caster perspective, that is definitely a rough one, because just casting an entire tournament in one day, which has so many players, is quite the task. But I think we managed. But yeah, the hype and the amazement was insane. And for that tournament, it was a little different to like the other tournaments of the weekend, like the regionals and stuff, because for that tournament, there was one Fire King in top cut. It immediately got knocked out in top 16. And like the big story of the tournament was that so many different decks, and even the most obscure decks were making a name for themselves and were making top cut. Like, Leo, explain to me in understandable words for a human being how Trickstar Sky Striker made top 16 in that tournament. Please explain it to me.
I can't explain it to you. He ran Scapegoats, which is even more crazy for me.
Yeah, it was madness.
I mean, maybe this card is a great call right now, because it's getting a little slower right now. So maybe Scapegoats is actually insane. I remember that he was playing against the Bestial player, which he could have OTK'd, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So there was even room for more. Trickstar is not good, guys. I don't even...
That is a person actually loving the deck saying, yeah.
I don't even understand how I won back then. I still don't really get it. Reincarnation is cool. Reincarnation draw basically never happens for some reason. I mean, if you reincarnation draw your opponent, of course you win, but I don't get it. I genuinely don't understand how he won so many games, but props to you. Congratulations. Yeah. Awesome run. Please elaborate.
Yeah. Hung is going to release his list on his own, like, because I was releasing deck lists of the HDK left and right on X and also on Instagram and so on, and people were really hyped about it. And basically, under every list I posted, there was a person asking, are you also going to post the Trickstar Sky Striker list? But for the Trickstar Sky Striker list, Hung actually told me that he wants to do it himself. And I mean, of course, I respect that then. But please don't wait for that long. Give the people what they want.
Maybe he's doing like a real big movie out of it. A cinematic one, like the Incredible Millennium deck profile we've had back then. Maybe he plans to get some people dressed up as Trickstars. Maybe we're going to see a cinematic masterpiece.
Maybe. I hope so. I hope so at this point, because I don't want to wait any longer for this. But it was crazy. Also, Rika in top 8. At the end of the day, we're still in Europe, I guess. But I mean, there was no Rika anywhere else. Like, it didn't top at any other regional. And he was running some interesting cards in there. Like, he was playing the a little aromaphage package already, or no, aromaceraphy, or however they're called, like those little
Um,
plants, those
Aroma,
girls,
yeah.
like a laurel and even another one. Even though like the support for the aromaceraphies is coming at some point later, I think it might be in Maze of Millennium or in the next set then. But like that was working for some reason. It was working really well. And then also like all the other decks, like it was very much just
Rika at a good day can always win. You can always win a lot of dice rolls,
yeah,
full combo your opponent, and yes, even though some decks can play through the field with some tools, sometimes they just don't.
for sure, for
So
sure.
this is a card game after all. Sometimes the luck is also in your favor, and even if your deck is a maybe bad call for the event or not the best, you can still have advantages just based on what cards you're drawing.
Absolutely. And then I mean the biggest and craziest run of the tournament then of course was Drytron in the finals. Like Drytron 2024 finals, it was madness. Like we were going absolutely ham in the casters booth because we just couldn't understand how this was even happening. Of course, we had them in the feature in top 4. They defeated, or Eric defeated. It's one person. Eric. Okay, Eric and his Drytron. So basically, them. They defeated Dinka Bui, which is like not the easy task to have. And it was just really, really impressive what he was doing with the deck for sure.
Drytron is a deck that I never ever had much sympathy for. Uh, Especially when it started summoning the Dark Magician of Chaos Max, who just turn skip your opponent. That was, I think, the absolute low for Drytron decks. Maybe I don't love the deck because every time I played against it, I try to interrupt stuff, and then they somehow pulled some Drytrons out of their sleeve
Yeah.
and just continued playing and then won. But this deck is, I mean, but props to win with this deck. I mean, the format is getting more and more grindy,
Yeah.
and I think this is also, even though this is a combo, has been a combo heavy deck, it does grind well, right?
Yeah, for sure. You have all your resources in the graveyard. You can do it every
Yeah.
turn. It's definitely great. Also, Natasha, one hell of a card. One hell of a card. Like, basically, just going after the entire field of the opponent is just so crazy. You actually have to crow Natasha if you have the chance to.
Yeah, Natasha is absolutely insane, especially if it's tributed for cost. You can actually get rid of the effect as well. So throwing that is not even bad, not even just taking away resources, but also denying the effect. So
Yeah, it's definitely
that's a pretty strong throw.
it's super insane. Yeah, so Yu-Gi-Oh looks super exciting.
Yeah.
I think we have like multiple more opens being announced for this month, so definitely a lot more big tournaments, so we can see how the format is developing even further, and I really enjoy that, and I want to see more Yu-Gi-Oh, of course. And I think we are about to head into a stage where, of course, the meta is going to change drastically very quickly, because
Yeah.
we have Mes of Millennia now, which is fully spoilered because we have like the influencer reveals by now. Great set, like Thrust as a reprint. I did not see that come at all. Like holy, they just threw a Thrust in there for honestly no real reason. Or is there a real reason? Because they had Bonefire in there, so that product would have been fine. Like,
I mean, the thing is, time flies when you get older, right?
yes, for sure.
And Thrust was Photon Hypernova, if I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
true.
That is almost 1 year ago.
Fair, but 1 year? Is that much in terms of modern Yu-Gi-Oh context? I don't know.
I mean, 1 year is basically asking for some kind of a reprint that is not a common in a structure deck.
Yeah, okay.
That's going to happen in probably 5 years. But after 1 year, we might get a more accessible reprint of the card.
Yeah, understandable.
Usually.
It will be interesting to see how accessible this card, this print
Yeah.
is. And yeah, then Bonefire, of course, which is like the main card of the entire set. Also transaction rollback. And then, of course, interestingly enough, also the Rescue Ace cards, like Hydrant and Turbulence, are being reprinted in there, which was quite interesting to see too.
Yep, that is pretty cool, making this deck more accessible, even though you still need to get Wanted and the Diabell Star, so those are still cards that are kind of tough to get.
True, true.
But it's nice to have easy access to Hydrant now. That's pretty nice. I wonder when we're going to get the first SP Little Knight reprint.
Yep, yep. Hopefully soon, hopefully soon. We all need it. I don't own one. Do you? You also don't, right? We need
I
to
think I
get one.
asked Icentrix like 3 times already for one, so this
Yeah,
is the main source of IPs, SPs.
yeah, yeah. So, but like the thing with us always is we are casting so much, so it feels weird to actually buy cards because when you're only occasionally going to play a regional or like a bigger tournament, then like we're well connected, we're great friends. We will most likely usually get to the cards. We need to play a good meta deck even. Therefore, we don't really need to usually invest into the cards.
Yeah, tell that to my Centurion core and my Labyrinth core that I have lying around here.
Are you happy about your Centurion announcement investment? I think you bought the cards while we were in Bologna, right?
Yeah, the investment, if you want to
Uh-huh.
call it that, is kind of good. When
Okay,
the cards
okay.
haven't really dropped, people still want them.
Sure.
Uh, Bonfire is a card you would want to play in that deck, so I don't see myself picking that up relatively soon.
Okay.
But you can search Trudea, which is insane.
Oh yeah. Ooh, I did not think about that. That's a huge boost to Centurion.
Yeah, it's a huge consistency boost actually, because the deck doesn't need to play a lot of engine, but
Yeah,
sometimes you end up without any engine at all because you're basically playing 12 or 13 cards.
yeah, for
So now
sure.
you can up it to 15 and you can even search out the best card. So that's pretty strong. So yeah, I don't know if I'm going to play Centurion for the next
I
weeks
think
or
you
months.
should. I think you should.
Yeah, maybe I'm going to transition to Fire King, to be honest, because those decks I also really like. It's a bit combo-ish, but it's not too much combo, and the mirror match is very skillful. You are
Yes,
not allowed to
yes.
make one single mistake in those ones.
For sure. Those mirror matches are definitely fun.
Yeah.
I do agree. Yeah, so like interesting times. So then like the format is going to really, really be shaken up by some very strong cards. Then the new main set, Phantom Nightmare, also is dropping like a couple of weeks
I'm
after.
gonna pay you.
Yeah, for sure. Like
It's gonna
like
happen.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean I trust you.
Yeah, dude, Yubel has been one of my favorite anime characters because she's kind of insane, right? It's and
Is Hugh
having
a
this.
girl? I didn't know. I didn't know.
Uh, I think it is. We
I
can go
just don't
for
know.
they. I think. Uh, but Yubel is a crazy character that pairs
Yeah.
up with Jaden, and then Jaden goes through a very dark time. So that was like when the GX anime turned really, really dark all of a sudden.
Hmm.
So I love it. I love the new support.
The
I
new
want to
support is
play
crazy for sure.
the old ones. I want to play the Secret Rare Phantom Darkness version of Yubel, the Ultimate Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh, let's see if that one is actually being played.
Hmm.
But I'm really hyped for that. Also, the new cards that were just announced are insane.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I love, and I don't know how that even works technically. Like whenever there's support announced, whatever support, it could be for the niche's rogue deck ever. Not even 1.5 hours later,
Yeah,
you know what I'm going to say?
yeah.
Freaking Lithium has a full-on combo video, or not even a video. He just shows you a picture of a final field of the cards. Like, yes, Jubel is now able to do this, and you sit there, bro. Like,
When?
how? Yeah, what's the process? Like, what happened here? And you don't understand it for whatever reason. And I'm really questioning what is happening in those 1.5 hours. Like, I want to know: is there like 10 people jumping into a voice call with him, and they're all labbing together, or is he really just the mastermind that immediately goes like, "Oh yeah, well, that's like this. Okay, 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 okay." It's crazy.
I mean, I I understood it back in the day when every second Lithium video was about a grinder golem combo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But now the combos are actually diverse, and what I love most about the archetypes that have been coming out recently is that they are kind of also restricted to the archetype.
Yeah,
So
fully.
going away from generic boss monsters like Baron de Fleur, but locking themselves into their archetype.
Hmm.
So you have to get really creative with those combos because you can't just go, hey, Grinder Golem, and I'm going to end up on Appaloosa, Borreled Savage Dragon, Baron de Fleur, and Solemn Judgment that I searched out of something.
Totally,
Uh,
yeah.
you're actually going to try and get the maximum out of this those archetypes that are going to have so many niche effects out of that as well. It's like if you are going to attack over my monster, I get like 2 extra effects, one back to hand, one card I can pop, and then I get more resources and stuff like that. So it's really hard to get those combos going and to maximize those combos. So hats off to Lithium.
Yeah, absolutely. Hats off. Props to him. I don't know how he does it. I hope he like. And then the even funnier thing is, apparently he has the brain capacities to produce all of that in the amount of minutes or in the time of minutes. Like he can do it very, very, very quickly.
And then he plays Monarch at every single YCS.
And he plays Monarch at every single YCS. I don't see the connection. It seems like it's two different persons.
Oh, maybe it is. That is a conspiracy theory.
Maybe it is. That's why I was saying maybe it's just a group of people hopping into a voice call and enjoying themselves together and working out the combos. And Lithium is just the person posting the picture on X in the end because he's the one with the biggest reach.
Or maybe Lithium isn't even Stephen Jacobs, but this one guy called Stephen Jacobs at the YCS just says he was Lithium, and we all believed him.
Maybe you might be onto something.
Yeah,
You
Detective Leonard is
you
going
might be
to
onto something for sure.
go after the case.
Absolutely. Okay. So we talked a bunch about Yu-Gi-Oh! I think we talked a bunch about how we think the year is going to start and continue in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! As well. One last thing that I also want to talk about with you though is, do you have any New Year's resolutions? Because this is basically just a couple of days into the new year. It could be Yu-Gi-Oh! Related, it could be non-Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. Is there anything you have? If you need
Uh,
some more time to think, I could also start if that's better for you.
yeah, go ahead and start.
Okay. So because for me personally, like the stuff is, I have like a Yu-Gi-Oh segment that I want to tackle, and I also have like a personal life segment that I want to tackle. And like the Yu-Gi-Oh segment is heavily related towards content. I mean, you guys probably have realized if you were checking out my Twitch, my Instagram, my X, I'm like really pushing right now. I'm really trying to get to the next level. I'm really trying to get somewhere, and I'm really just grinding Yu-Gi-Oh content every day of the week, and that is really what I love and want to do. So definitely make sure to check out all those platforms and support me, please, if you listen to this here on Spotify or YouTube. And then also, I always say that and preach that to people. I believe setting yourself goals for Yu-Gi-Oh! Or setting yourself goals in general in terms of success, in terms of actual numbers or something, like
Mm.
you have to win something or something like that, is not really the right way to go. I always believe it's better to go for like do more and then you will have success eventually. So like what I'm saying is, I'm not saying I want to win a regional in this year, but I rather want to say I want to play at least 5 regionals, and that will bring me into the position of maybe also winning a regional. And I think just always doing more is going to lead you to also greater success. So I have some numbers in my head where I'm like, I want to play that many regionals, I want to play that many things and so on. And most importantly, even because I've been not able to do that last year, I definitely wanna and will go to an American YCS and play that, because I'm always casting European YCS. I wanna stick to that. I love it. I want to continue doing it, but I want to play a YCS as well. And if I have to go to America for that, that's the way to go.
Oh, that's been on my list for ages now as well.
Yeah.
Your resolution in terms of numbers is having like one small problem, and that
Go
is
ahead.
that I think should also focus on getting rid of bad habits in terms of Yu-Gi-Oh! And increasing your skills in the game. Like if you're saying I want to play 5 regionals, then try to play those 5 regionals with maybe the same deck and try to get better at it as well. And then maybe the fifth one is going to be the win that you are craving for in your heart. But yeah, other than that, I totally agree. I think even in the Master versus Caster with Joshua Schmidt, you asked him, "Is your goal to win a YCS again?" And he said that was never my goal. I just
Yeah.
always want to go and perform, and if I win one, that's perfectly fine. And it seems to work for him
You could say so.
again and again and again.
Yeah. And
So
one last thing to close out on my Yu-Gi-Oh thing. Uh, that is in terms of numbers too. I want to get top 100 at the Duelist Cup for Master Duel. Like I've been successful with Challenger Cups and so on, but I've so far not really shown the success that I would have liked to show at Duelist Cups. So that is definitely coming onto the list.
so what I have in terms of numbers, last year my resolution, I had only one resolution. Was pretty satisfied with how the year went before that. And that was play more tournaments again. And I didn't do it
Yeah.
up until November, I think, and then I just started panicking. I was like, I can't just. My New Year's resolution is to have more fun at tournaments, and I'm not even fulfilling that. What am I doing? So I started planning out a tournament every weekend for I think 2 months now.
Yeah.
And this weekend is going to be the first one that I'm not doing anything. After that, I'm going to Austria, and after that, I'm going to be in Liverpool. So busy again.
For sure.
But this year, I want to be more consistent in that. I want to play Challenger Cups. I enjoy Master Duel quite a lot. The best thing about it is that you don't have to travel. You can just play it from your home. Because usually I love traveling. I love traveling to tournaments. But if you are traveling so much, also for work with casting, then it's nice to on a weekend day or a weekday even to just stay at home and play a tournament there and have the same emotion. Maybe hop on a Discord call with your friends and have the atmosphere of chilling together at a tournament without having to leave your freaking apartment.
Yeah, I mean, traveling to an event on a Wednesday evening is
Yeah.
not really that easy. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
But okay. So basically, the goal is just going to transition to this year too. That you just want to play more tournaments and then master the Challenger Cups as well.
I want to be more consistent in that. I don't want to cram it all into the last 2 months of the year and then try to get my resolution in. No, I want to do it over the year. Maybe 1 or 2 tournaments a month, locals.
Cool. Yeah.
Maybe during the week. It's not easy if you're casting 2 games to always drive to tournaments.
Yeah.
On weekends because those might be busy.
I feel that. Yeah.
And I want to continue playing volleyball. I want to be healthy and fit.
Yeah.
And I don't know, not let my cats die or something like
that. I mean, yeah, you're a father now. You're responsible for sure. But like, I also especially feel the I want to stay fit part. And I mean, you are actively you're playing volleyball, so you have a sport right now that you're executing. So you're keeping your body fit. But like the last year have been super sleeping on the sport part. I always used to be doing so much sport in my youth, like school times. I was basically doing sports every day. I was playing football. I was on a running team. So I was just having so much exercise, and I think my body is still profiting from those times where I just made like a fit body, but like I'm slacking on keeping it in check. So I definitely have some goals in terms of I just want to go out and go jogging again, because that's the easiest. You don't really have to commit to any dates or anything. You can just put your running shoes on and go out and run a little.
Yeah, but jogging is so boring, dude. I feel like it's like going to the gym. So in the beginning, I liked going to the gym. You had like all of those new goals, and it was exciting to be there, get your mind off of things.
Yeah.
But it started to bore me out so much. There was like it's very repetitive, and in like a sports like volleyball, you get to learn new stuff every time. You can get better at that stuff. You can't really get better at running. You're faster, and your body is going longer without telling you, "Hey, I think I'm about to collapse." But it bores me out so much.
I mean, you can definitely get better. Like you can definitely get better. I think that point is not really there because obviously just get faster, and that's pretty. Yeah. I think in it's even easier to measure getting better in running than in any other sport because you could just take the time and then go from there. But yeah, like I have a history in running, and I always loved it. Like I did when I was young, I did like 5 kilometers, 10 kilometers, always like long distances or
Same.
like middle distances. So 5 kilometer, 10 kilometer, I enjoyed those, and I think like first of all, I believe that we are constantly in our everyday life so we're challenging our brains so much at a consistent rate. So being a bit bored while running is probably not that
Mhm.
bad if you do it just for 45 minutes and you are doing something good for your body while you are bored. On top of that, I mean, there's music, there's podcasts. You can basically definitely find something during the time.
Oh, that's a very good point. Being bored again is not it's not too bad. I mean, sometimes when one of the cats sits on my lap or sits on me and I can't move because you don't want to disturb the cat,
Yeah.
I just always immediately fall asleep as well. So I never sit there and be bored. I
Mm-hmm.
just always start sleeping.
Yeah.
So maybe I should get bored a little bit more.
Maybe. Actually, like my list is actually quite long. I don't know why 2024 has I have
Keep on
decided
going.
to step up, but like I will quickly browse through it. So first of all, I have a very bad routine in terms of breakfast, and I want to get better in breakfast routine because my usual breakfast routine for the last year or maybe even longer was looking like I don't eat breakfast. So I want to step up on that game and get a bit better with that. Then second of all, um, actually it's a pretty crazy step, but I have started to eat vegan now for 2024 so far. I mean, I couldn't stick to it entirely because, for example, at the event, like when you're going
Yeah.
to an event, it's like you don't have time really to eat. There is not that much to choose from. So I just couldn't stick to it. And I mean, like, I'm getting into it right now. So I think it's fine to have like some errors along the way and not be like super upset about it when you are just failing with it for once in like 2 weeks because yeah, it actually was only once for those 2 weeks so far, and I'm somewhat
There
proud
are
of that.
I have loads of friends in the Pokemon community, especially that are vegan and that make exceptions on events because it's sometimes when you're traveling to different countries, they are not as used to vegan cuisine.
Yeah, for
They don't
sure.
have that many options. If you're eating with larger groups of people, it's sometimes more difficult to get something vegan. So yeah, I think making an exception for events is more than
It's
fine.
probably clever, yeah. Yeah, and I mean,
Approved.
it's definitely like I'm living in Berlin for the people that don't know, and there's probably no easier place in the
Yeah.
world to be vegan than Berlin because in the supermarkets everywhere it says this is vegan, this is not vegan, blah blah blah. So it's very easy to find. There's plenty of restaurants where you can eat vegan, so it's just so reasonably easy. And I mean, also doing that kind of incentivizes me to cook more. I've always been very lazy on cooking, and like this at least incentivizes me to cook more because it's not that easy to go for other stuff anymore.
Can I tell a little anecdote to that vegan part?
Sure.
There is a really nice place for cake in Dortmund.
Mm-hmm.
The best cake I've ever had, without a doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there with my friend Jakob, and this is immediately when you step in, you know the quality of food is really high, but it's usually old timers going there.
Mm-hmm.
It's very old people in there. So we sat down, surrounded by the elderly,
By the elderly. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and we were ordering the fantastic poppy seed cheesecake and coffee. And my friend asked, "Do you have oat milk?" And the entire cafe, all of the elderly people turned around and they were looking at him with utter disgust. It was absolutely insane. And the waiter was like, "No, no, we don't have oat milk." And he looked at him straight in the eye, was like, "You got some soy milk?" And I heard people gasping in the background.
Ay, 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 ay,
So
ay.
sometimes it's not easy to get vegan food or drinks.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't even have like milk. I just asked for regular milk, and they had like this coffee cream stuff, which is really disgusting.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Those little things. Then I was like, "Hey, I'm paying €4 for this. Why can't I even get regular milk?" I think that's the least you can do. But that's in a whole other thing.
For sure. But then, last point I have, actually referring to the coffee part you're talking about, I'm
Hmm.
trying to consume less caffeine. because I feel like when I'm constantly my drink of choice always was Club Mate, which is like very high on caffeine, and then I would also drink coffee. Like when you just do it so much and your body gets used to it so much, the moments you actually need caffeine to work, for example, at big events, Yu-Gi-Oh events when you're casting, it wasn't really doing that big of a thing for me anymore. So I decided to just, in my regular life, kind of exclude it, go for tea a little more, and then when I need it, I can still super, super hardcore dive into it. So, like, probably at the YCS, I will still drink 10 coffees per day, but, like, then they hopefully do their job.
And how's it going for you so far?
Good,
Are you
good.
craving?
No, not at all, honestly.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's weird. Like I was thinking that for mate at least, I would like immediately be craving it because
Mm.
if you know me, you know that I like really was basically every day going out and buying one mate. So I literally had one every day, and I just completely put it away, and no regrets so far.
So you're not missing the taste of rust and cigarettes.
Exactly, exactly.
I think I read one article about coffee that said, "Hey, coffee isn't as unhealthy as people
True.
make you think."
Yeah, yeah.
And from that point on, I just only believed this article. This fit my coffee ideology, so this is the absolute truth for me right now. And I have also thought about reducing coffee or
Mhm.
not drinking it at all, but I enjoy this drink so much. I'm so happy every time I drink it that I don't want to really exclude it
Yeah.
from my life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know, for sure. I mean, if you like something so much, why would you exclude it? I do understand it. And I mean, I definitely, I've heard that before too, that coffee actually is somewhat healthy. But I think also in that context, people were saying, but to a certain degree,
Yeah, yeah.
like do it to a certain degree. And I was definitely, I think like already drinking one bottle of mate per day may have exceeded that, honestly.
I mean, the boomers just go completely insane on
Yes,
coffee.
yes.
My father went like, I drink 8 cups, like big mugs.
Easily,
That
easily.
that does not sound healthy. This is bad. 8 cups or 8 mugs of everything except water is bad, basically.
Easily, easily. Yeah, yeah. The old people are going crazy on the coffee for sure. But yeah, I think we could wrap it up here. I think
Yeah,
you guys are hopefully also going crazy about this episode of the podcast. It has been a while, but we have now delivered a pretty long one again to be returning. You can check this out wherever you could find podcasts. We will upload this to the YouTubes. We will upload this to Spotify. So just go ahead, Caster's Desk everywhere. That was an absolute pleasure talking to you again, my friend.
same.
Leonard Koenig and Sebastian Lemke, your hosts for this episode and for all the other episodes of Caster's Desk as well. We will be returning soon. Thank you so much for listening